In the 1971 Handbook on Research and Teaching, Barrick, Rosenshine, and Norma First reported on their meta-analysis of research, where they looked at a series of other research reports and tried to pull them together to identify what teacher behaviors are most closely associated with student achievement. Now, we know that there are a lot of variables that have something to do with how much students learn. In fact, the number one variable is actually socioeconomic status, and we can't do very much about that. But the one source of variance in student achievement that we can actually do something about it is called teacher behavior. The meta-analysis identified a series of 11 different teacher behaviors, and the number one teacher behavior, the teacher behavior most closely associated with a positive student achievement, is called teacher clarity. Rosenshine and First defined teacher clarity in several different ways. Now, of course, this is clarity as defined by students. So when the students think that the presentation is clear, then they believe that the teacher is clear. That the points that the teacher makes are clear, perhaps enumerated or written on the board. That teachers explain concepts clearly and use examples. And also that the lesson is organized, whether it is the daily lesson or the course syllabus. All of those, at least according to students, are indicators of teacher clarity, and the clearer the teacher, the more the students will learn. So what do we do then when we find out that perhaps we're not as clear as we thought we would like to be? In some research that we did here in the College of Ag and Life Sciences, and that we also replicated at Seoul National University College of Ag and Life Sciences, we discovered that teachers are perceived to be clearer when they're doing very specific things like giving information, and they are viewed as less clear in areas such as giving students time to think, showing difficult problems on the board, and giving good examples. So when we think in terms of clarity, we need to think in terms of not only the very specific attributes that we use when we're teaching, but also the more complicated ones. So what do we do then when we find out that maybe we're not as clear as we think we'd like to be? Well, there are several tips. One tip is to use a written lesson plan, because that means that we are organized. That means that we are clear in the questions that we're going to ask. We know where we're going to go, and we share that with our students. And part of that then is also writing down our key questions, so that that very first question we ask our students, we have it written down and it's clear, and we have a good idea of what it is that we would like for the students to be able to say. A third tip is to avoid vague words. And in this day and age of all the electronic gizmos we have, we can even have embedded in our electronic syllabus key words that they can click on and find out what the definitions are if we are perhaps using words that might not be clear to them. And then a fourth idea is to write the daily topics on the board. In our public schools, many times that's actually required to have the essential questions, to have the topics written on the board. And if not, we can show a PowerPoint, write it on the whiteboard, whatever it is, to help students see this is where we're going today. Well, there are lots of other tips for us to think about when we want to achieve greater clarity in our teaching. And we have provided, as a part of this podcast then, a handout that's entitled, Are You a Clear Teacher? And on there are several other tips that we can use in order to be clearer in our teaching, because that is so highly associated with positive student achievement.